getting you out of there.
I know.
First, good news, you said. Is there a second thing?
Right. It's super important. Stays between us. It's gotta. Proof of my trust.
I think that when we talk about a world like Cyberpunk and we talk about a place like Night City, the word cultural relativism really matters. What cultural relativism means is that we are going to base our judgment on someone else's culture based on their rules and their belief systems, which means that we're not imposing our own rules, our own way of life upon a different culture. Now, this comes with a certain amount of controversy because where do we draw the line? Are there some universal truths of what is good and what is bad? And if there aren't, then are we allowing any culture, even cultures that do horrific things, to get away with it without a sense of judgment? I think that that has a certain point, but I think that it's also really important that if you live in a world where violence is always the answer, you being the sweetest person or living very honorably could end up with really bad results. Yes, Ned Stark, I'm thinking of you. And so with that, I have to say, do you believe Songbird when she says,
Stays between us. It's gotta. Proof of my trust.
does she actually trust him? Or is she using this in that way that sometimes people will say, I trust you or I'm trusting you, in hopes that that will be projected back? I'm showing you my hand of trust so that you will actually trust me more because I need you to trust me. And a lot of people use that, especially with social engineering. We give something to someone else in hopes that then they will feel more trusting with us. It's the same thing that we sometimes do with sharing of information. I'll share a little bit of information, so hopefully you'll feel comfortable enough to share a lot of yours.
But honestly, I never thought he'd try to kill her.
You betrayed her.
Not just her. Nothing went according to plan.
Sent Myers' entire flight crew to an early grave.
Ground the plane. That was the plan. Didn't expect he'd blow it to Not much of an excuse, I know.
I think that one of the main skills that Songbird uses to survive, and what I think is really important for her, is that social engineering. Social engineering is to be able to manipulate or coerce or have other people do things that you need them to do in order to survive. I think that's one of Songbird's main skills. Is she's an exceptionally good netrunner, which I think was a detractor. It actually put her on the map. When you're really good at something, exceptionally good, and because she would take risks that other people didn't, she was noticed. And that's one of the first things that can be a curse and a benefit, is that if you're really good at something better than anyone else and you're willing to take those risks, you'll be seen. But if you're seen not just to get notoriety from good people, though in Night City we could say that there aren't that many good people. Every person has their own reason for why they may want you. But for Songbird, she was also noticed by people that were very powerful, and powerful people are going to want to use you as a tool.
So what was your plan?
For you to rescue Myers while I secured the AI Matrix, all before Kirk caught on. Now Hansen's changed the terms of our deal. The one thing he doesn't know is what's on the Cynosure mainframe. He's hoping it's data he can use as leverage against the NUS. Says that's my ticket to freedom, but soon as he gets his hands on it, I'm dead. I just know it.
And the manner in which she speaks, it's really soft, and she's trying to garner sympathy, even though she's admitting to doing something really horrible, where the ends justifies the means. She had a plane filled with people that ended up dying because of her actions. When you are trapped and stuck in a corner where it is you versus them, where you're not sure if anyone is going to betray you, can you really hold judgment to her for making this choice? How many of us might make exactly the same choice? Plus, we have to look at her personality type. Her personality type is those type A personalities, the people that think forward, are problem-solving, achievement-oriented, enjoy being able to control things. And the problem is that when you enjoy being able to control situations, thinking your way out of it, when you feel trapped or stuck, or in her case, being used for her skills as a netrunner, it can become incapacitating. That feeling of anxiety, you might want to do anything that you can in order to regain your freedom. The thing that you wanted to attain, that notoriety, that power, then becomes the thing that shackles you.
You used me.
You're backed into a corner, nowhere to run. And until I get what I want, in that corner you'll stay. The data from the Cynosure mainframe. Bring me that. Then, and only then.
You'll let me go.
And that's a dangerous game to play with someone that is one of the best net runners. It's a very difficult game to play with someone that thinks ahead, that's problem solving, that has probably already run through their head many different scenarios. People that have anxiety, people that are problem solvers, people that are achievement oriented, they're spending their time trying to make sure that they don't get caught in traps, that they are not fenced in. Even small animals, they will probably choose to run or avoid or not deal with confrontation unless they are put in a corner and there's nothing left for them to do. And the one thing that Songbird is really good at, it is being able to do whatever she has to in order to survive. And she's survived situations that other net runners haven't. That's why she ended up being Myers' right-hand woman.
I don't want to hurt you, V. Never did.
And now, even when Songbird is being taken over, she still has this protective measure towards V. So you could say that she's done all kinds of horrible things, but probably for her, it was because she felt like she had to. She did what she had to in order to survive, but when she could protect someone that she cared about, she wants to. And I think that accurate to the brain. It's kind of interesting because even if something takes over your brain, or if you're dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's, those base feelings, those more primitive emotions, the middle part of your brain is often protected. So you still feel emotions of care or disdain for certain people. That remains. And so if you're dealing with someone that might be maybe not taken over by any type of cyberware or corrupt AI, but that's dealing with memory loss of some sort, there's still parts of them that are there that you can reach. And so she's still trying to keep him safe and having to fight something that wants to hurt V at the same time. And so I think that that's really an endearing trait for Songbird. And I think that that's something that allows us to attach to her, is that even though she's struggling for her own survival and has probably done a whole bunch of things that she really regrets, she still has these levels of humanity and trying to do the best that she can with the cards that she's given. Like this, where some people may say that Songbird was only protecting V for her own protection because she needed him in order to survive. But in this case, here she is battling to try to keep him alive. And I would say that she really meant it. She used all of her mental strength to be able to fight this AI that's inside of her, or the cyberware that's inside of her, because she wanted to keep him safe, because she actually cared about him. And him being the one person that she actually trusted, she gave him as much trust as she could and shared as much information that she could without giving everything, because she feared that then she would be left alone, and that own need for survival still took precedence, which for many of us, I think that we would make similar choices. In Night City, everyone's going to betray you. It's kind of the common theme that the only one you can really trust is yourself, and not even yourself in some cases.
Whom for? You? Reed?
Everyone involved.
Win-win decisions don't exist, let alone three-way wins.
They definitely can. I think that usually if you can plan out situations where everyone's going to be able to get something that they need or that they want, but in order to do that, you have to understand someone else's psychology, what actually matters to them. And in a place like Night City, you would also have to know the variables, because everyone has these little buckets, but they're weighted buckets where I care more about food than I do of water, but I might care about sparkly things more than I care about food. And so you have to understand these variables. For someone like Songbird, she's really good with her emotional intelligence, her understanding of why people work the way that they do, especially when you don't trust people. And trust is something that is very short in demand, where you live in a place where you're taught really early that if you give too much information out, it's going to be used against you, to be manipulated, to be able to be controlled. And so that makes it really difficult because people are going to be holding their cards, learning to hold their cards very close to them, because people that share too much, they end up not surviving.
At time's the right choice, the brave one, is what's best for you alone.
Sorry, So-Mi. I am. Want to help. Tell me how.
You can tell that in this case, she's speaking for herself. This is the way that she's making her own choices. It's often in these quiet moments where you have time to reflect, and for her, she's literally reflecting. She can go through why she makes the choices that she's had to. And I think that for Songbird, she really does feel like there is no other choice.
This can still end well. For you. For me.
V. I'm sorry. There's something that I gotta be not going anywhere with you.
You can tell that she feels bad. She wants to share with V the truth of the entire plan. So she's going through a certain amount of an inner dilemma.
I lost, didn't I? Everything I did, the people I hurt, it's meaningless. It matters not at all.
Doing my best to survive my life too, Song. We all make wrong turns. We all lose the way.
And that's what we end up doing as we look back on the choices that we've made and the fallout from those choices. When you're dealing with such dangerous situations where lives have been lost, that cost to who we are, how we see ourselves when we're reflecting back, is so much more harsh. And I think that for Songbird, her talents were used to kind of control her, to shackle her into one place. And so that need to have to survive, that survival instinct that she had, she went to more extremes than what she would have liked to, because she felt like there was no other choice.
And we kneel to pick up the broken pieces of life, assemble them, seek meaning in the whole.
And we do. We try to find meaning for horrible things that happen, that, you know, there was for a greater good or something good will come out of it. And I think that for Songbird, she's kind of at that feelings of learned helplessness, where you've tried everything, you've done everything that you could, yet it still didn't work out. For people that are more on the type A personality, that are go-getters, that are achievers, that's a really painful situation, especially for her, because she's been used as a tool. She's not even seen as a person. The things that she's admired for is what she can do to help a cause, but the pieces of herself is often lost. And for a lot of people, if they're caretakers, meaning that they care for others instead of themselves, sometimes your own feelings of identity get lost because of that, and you might lose the way. You get so caught up on making the plan. She's thinking so much about doing whatever she can to be able to get ahead that sometimes you lose the pieces of the bigger picture of what is all of the fallout from the things that I did, and that can lead to a lot of feelings of guilt and regret for the choices that you've had to make. Well, in her case, the choices that she believed at the time she had to make, but possibly now she's thinking back that maybe there would have been a different way.
This can still end well. For you. For me.
V. I'm sorry. There's something that I...
And then that's that moment with V being so kind, so thoughtful, so giving and forgiving to all of the things that she did. She wants to share what the real plan was. She wants to let him in. She feels bad about it. And I wonder that if she didn't end up glitching out, if she actually would have shared everything about the plan and let him know. It seems like she really does have an attachment to V and genuine care for him. Now, I want to know what other people think, that perhaps that you think that this is more manipulation, that she's using him, and even in this case, that she's using personal disclosure as a tool, which does work. It can work. You give a little bit of personal disclosure and people trust you more. You share something that's very honest and personal to you, personal to something that you might be ashamed of or upset about. People actually do feel closer with you after, trust you more afterwards because you trusted them. That's the mirroring that happens in personal relationships. So it is effective, but it feels more heartfelt to me from Songbird. So I actually believe that she does care for V, but he's still also a tool for her to get what she needs to get. So in this case, I think that she was being honest honest, I think in some of the other scenes she might be a little bit more using some social engineering skills to get what she has to. And to ensure that he feels personally invested in her story, cares enough about her, so he will take the risks that she needs in order for her to survive.
I thought if I could control the future, I'd feel safe always. But I should have looked to the past.
We do that a lot of times, especially when the world is chaotic, the things around us don't make any sense. We often become really controlling. This actually can cause certain traits of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, where what we're trying to do is we're trying to control everything around us so that bad things don't happen. And in small ecosystems, that actually is very effective. If you make sure that all of your food is good and your tools are in the right place, there's less of a chance that they'll end up rusted or the food will go bad. But as a macrocosm, it doesn't. It ends up being that the things that we try to control end up controlling us. And it can be something that causes us to spin. And we worry so much because there's always something more, another branch of the tree that branches out until you end up with this fractal design of choices that you can get lost in, and that can cause anxiety to build. But it is a really common thing that happens to people when they're in a world where they feel like they don't have choices, that things don't matter. We can often even see patterns that don't even exist and try to solve problems that aren't there.
To lessons about loss, repeated.
And I think that for Songbird, a lot of her main issues are issues with trust and issues with feelings of regret. Anxiety are things that we worry about in the future, and regret is us looking back into the past. And the problem is that if you live in either of those places, neither of them actually exist. The only thing that exists is the here and now. It's the only thing that we can actually make concrete changes with. So if you spend too much time in the future, you're going to end up with a lot of anxiety. And if you spend too much time in the past, you can end up very depressed. And so we try to do some mindfulness techniques to be able to keep us in the here and now, to be able to deal with the things that we can control and let go of the things that we can't. Not saying that you shouldn't think sometimes of the past and learn from it, and think sometimes of the future and plan for it as well.
I'll keep this moment as this memory. Just one. Back home, a friend at my side. Before it all goes dark, for one last second, I'll know I wasn't alone.
She doesn't have a very strong form of trust, yet she seems to trust V a lot. She's giving him a lot of emotional content, which that means like she's sharing a lot of her innermost feelings. And for other people, that can become very overwhelming as someone is oversharing their pain. We end up with something called secondary trauma, which could happen if someone's sharing too much about something that you're sensitive to. It can be very daunting, where it almost feels like you're going through it as well, especially if you lean more towards being the feeler type, the emotional and have a lot of empathy. That can become very heavy because you're more porous to those emotional content, and feelings are contagious. So what someone else is feeling, especially if it is strong and painful, you might start feeling it as well. Sometimes you might feel anger or sadness or anxiety, and it's not actually yours. You're actually catching it from someone else around you. So you feel it, you might want to say, is this me? Because if not, it might be someone else. And I think that that goes a lot towards V's feelings of wanting to protect Songbird, which is what she needs. And so I definitely think there are some pieces of social engineering or manipulation that are at play, but I do think that she cares about him as well.
Reed's not the only one I've betrayed.
What do you mean, Song?
Neural Matrix V can only be used once.
Once? How so?
It's a captive AI from beyond the wall. Relies on continuous evolution to exist.
And so that's where I go to that she actually cared about him, because why would she tell him right now? Why wouldn't she wait until he made the choice and believes that both of them can be saved from it? Right now she's sharing something, wanting him to be able to make the choice whether to protect her or not, but knowing all of the variables. And if you played Phantom Liberty, I would love to know, what were the choices that you made? Did you feel like protecting Songbird even though she lied to you and manipulated you in order to help you? And what were the reasons that made you make those choices? Because The reasons that we make these choices are really important to our own psychology, and what are the things that matter to us versus don't.
Nice to drop in and shoot some sh**. High time you woke her, though.
Damn sorry, Song. I am. But you me first.
And we end up with these choices, which for me weigh really heavily upon me. What choices do I make in these games? Because for me, I get really attached to the characters and their stories and why they're doing things. And I think that the game did a really good job of giving us all of the information so that we could understand Songbird's journey of being used as a tool, of not having any choice, of having the things that were your talents and the things that you were proud of that made you lose everyone that you cared about, and feeling forced into position that you have to make decisions that you may not want to make. You don't have to be fitted with cyberware to make yourself more powerful and protected with today's sponsor, Imprint. I have to say that the issue with learning is that the barrier to entry is often too great, the load's too daunting, and that can make some of us feel overwhelmed and anxious. Imprint has made learning in bite-sized little pieces, so you get to choose how long you want to learn, and if you want, you can learn more in depth after. I ended up choosing 2 minutes a day. Why? Because who can say that they don't have 2 minutes a day to expand their mind? And you might say, well, 2 minutes a day isn't really going to make a difference, but think about it this way. If you learned for 2 minutes a day, every day, for a year, how much knowledge would you know at the end of that year that you didn't know before? I did their 2-minute visual course on psychology, the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. I chose this because I hate being stuck and I like to get my goals done and done quickly. And so in this lesson, it went through some of these main blocks as why we don't accomplish our goals. And Mel gave us a very simple, easy, effective technique to get past that decision paralysis. What I really liked about the course is that it was simple, quick, and it had these cute moving images, which for me as a visual learner made it so much easier to consume, almost like TikTok, but in a healthy way. Also, knowing that it was only 2 minutes of my time made me feel no hesitation or anxiety towards just doing it. It was like watching something on YouTube, but instead of doom scrolling, I was feeding my brain. We speak a lot about how it's really important to choose carefully what you eat because you are what you eat. But I would say that it's even more important to curate what your brain consumes because you definitely are what you think. And if you're still not sure, choose just everything that Imprint has to offer for free for a full week, 7 days. Or if you want more, the first 200 people will get 20% off of Imprint's annual premium subscription. So there's no reason not to try it today. Clicking on that button really does help out this channel, so thank you to Imprint for supporting my videos, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. So this is a little bit of Songbird and a brief thought on her psychology. Let me know what your thoughts of Somi were in the comments below, and if you played the game, what were the choices that you made and why? And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.